Welcome to the Thriving Farmer Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kilpatrick. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and celebrate sustainable farming. We believe that you can build a profitable, sustainable farm that gives you true farm freedom. Join us as we talk to farmers, innovators, educators, and entrepreneurs to glean their top takeaways in business and life. Hey, Thriving Farmers, Michael Kilpatrick here. So today joining me is Denis Morsomme, who is the founder of Micro-Ferme du Ponceret in Belgium. Welcome, Denis.
Hi, Michael.
And I hope I got the name of your farm correct.
It's Ponceret.
Bastogne. Okay. So you guys are located in Belgium. Talk to us a little bit about the overview of your farming operation.
So we are in Bastogne. It's 510 meters high. And we are working on 3 hectares actually. And we are in the coldest part of the country. So we get only 5 to 6 months frost-free. Mm-hmm. So we are running, the operation is not only farming, we have a shop inside the greenhouse. We are producing biochar. And we also have a kitchen to propose a cooked meal.
Mm-hmm. So you're not only producing food, but you also have a kitchen, which is then producing like a finished catering product or ready to eat food.
Yes, correct.
Absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about your background. How did you get started farming?
We started to think about it in 2010 when we get parents, we had babies, and we started really in 2016 for the first year. Mm-hmm. And so we are planting now for the 5th season. And it was something we wanted to have better quality of life, better food for the kids. Mm-hmm. Couldn't find it around us. And that was the beginning of the thinking about it. But we are from the retail business first. So we had no plan to really farm. Mm-hmm. It's just because we couldn't find the production we would like to eat, and that's how we get into farming.
Mm-hmm. So you just couldn't find the quality of food that you were looking for, so you decided to start your own farm and grow it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So talk to us a little about the history of the farm. So the first couple of years, what was your setup like?
Oh, we started directly with a heated greenhouse. We have a 2,000 square meters greenhouse, and because when we designed the business plan, we realized we could not produce much because the frost-free season was too short. Mm-hmm. And we wanted the scale to be not too small because we had small businesses before, and then you know that everything is on your shoulder and you need mm-hmm. all the time. And then we wanted to make something a little bigger. And so we decided to try to build something that would include employees directly from the beginning.
Okay, so you built the business size to include additional people so that you could not have everything on your shoulders at all time.
Yes.
Okay, very interesting. A lot of people start the opposite. They start, with doing it themselves, and then eventually they hire employees.
It's due to our past experience because we did this before. Mm-hmm. In a retail business, and we didn't want it again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So talk to us about your setup. You have the greenhouse, and then you also do some field production, correct?
Yes. So we are trying to produce a large variety and to sell directly all our production to our customer.
Okay, so what are you growing in the fields then? I guess to clarify, outside. So what kind of crops do you grow outside compared to inside?
Well, outside is I cannot find the name in English. Like zucchini and
mm-hmm. Squashes,
des choux.
Okay.
Cabbage, carrots, salads, like.
Gotcha. So you're still doing a full range of crops outside then.
Yes.
Things like carrots, beets, all the brassicas. But then inside the greenhouse, what do you focus on inside the greenhouse?
Well, it's 50% tomatoes, and then it's zucchini, eggplants, peppers.
Gotcha. Okay, so all your heat-loving crops, and in the wintertime, do you switch over to just doing some greens in there?
Yes, but in our area, people are not eating much greens. We
Oh,
are
interesting.
in a very, like all our neighbors, our farmer neighbors, have cows and produce meat. So we are very in a area where people love meat and not much into greens.
Oh, interesting. So they just don't eat greens. So have you adjusted your crop plans based on that? And what are you doing to introduce and kind of like help them eat more greens?
Well, yes, we adapt and we are trying, and it's working, but slowly. So we are producing a few microgreens and ready to eat. We are trying to develop a ready to eat salad mix.
Mm-hmm.
When I see some video on YouTube in Canada or America where people produce only that, it's for us, it's just a few percent of what.
Huh. Yeah, yeah, and that's, such a high margin crop. Um, so so then like say in the wintertime, what are you growing in the greenhouses? Are you just growing more like the root crops or are these more just staying open?
No, we are trying to keep living active year round.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to have plants growing all the time. But since we have the heated greenhouse, we plant like late February and we take out the plant early December. So we have a very short period in our area. We have a lack of light during winter. So even greens, such short period.
Gotcha. Okay, so you just don't have the demand for product in the dead of the winter.
We know we don't, not as much as we can produce.
Gotcha. So talk to us a little bit about the greenhouse and the heat system. So I saw the systems out of Germany and it actually produces biochars, a product. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So we have a heated greenhouse because if we want to produce enough during the year, we need to heat the greenhouse. But I'm very concerned about the climate crisis. So I was looking for a solution and I found this machine that makes biochar and can produce heat at the same time. It's from Germany. And then we produce heat for the greenhouse and we produce biochar that we can use in the soil as soil amendment to make the soil more, better for vegetable production.
Interesting. So talk to us a little bit about that biochar. It's basically pulls in wood chips or pellets, and then the waste product is the biochar.
Yes, exactly. So here we put in some wood chips, and for each tons of dry wood chip we put inside, we get around 240 kilograms of biochar. So it means from a carbon point of view that each time we put 1 ton of wood, we can fix more than 700 kilograms of CO2.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so then is the furnace just burning like the gases? Is that what the focus is?
Yes, exactly. It's like we put the wood into a pipe that is in the middle of the furnace.
Mm-hmm.
With the heat, some part of the gas break and is turned into gas, and this gas is burned really around the pipe where the wood is moving.
Mm.
And then we just take the biochar out because it's just heavier, and the gas is pumped out just by an under pressure system.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, so you've got the biochar. Now, how are you integrating the biochar into your farm?
We are mixing it with compost or manure to
Yep.
load it with nutrients, and then we mix it to the soil.
Okay. And what are the results you're seeing from the biochar?
Well, it our soil is there is a lot of clay in it, so it's very sticky.
Mm-hmm.
Biochar help a lot to make it much more easy to work with.
Okay.
And it helps us, but it also helps the earthworm. It helps the plants to grow their racine. How do you call it?
The mycorrhizae, the soil life.
No, just more basic than that.
Okay.
There's the roots. It's just
Okay.
make it easy for the roots to go in wherever they want, and also it's storing nutrients, and it's a very good way to manage nitrogen.
Okay. Okay. So, how much biochar should people be putting down, or are you putting down in the soil?
Well, the minimum is 70 grams per square meters, and actually we are putting in 3 different years 1 kilograms per square meter.
Okay.
It really depends on your soil, because if you have like a very lot of clay, then you may need more. And if your soil is very acidic, because it's more basic product, you also need it. The best results are for people who are sandy soil. It's retain moisture, and that's really make a huge difference for them.
And I think it really, what it does is locks up a lot of the nutrients too, so they're not just freeing, going down through the soil profile, correct?
Yes, that's we do it for when we plant tree, like apple tree. We put 10 liters of biochar, loaded with about 10 liters of manure in it. But because the biochar will keep and manage the nitrogen, we can put as much as 600 grams of pure nitrogen under each tree. It's ensure that for the, I don't know how many first years, they will get enough and grow correctly.
Now, one of the things about in the U.S., I don't think we have these. Do they import those furnaces to the U.S.? Do you know that?
No, I don't think so. They mainly sell it to Nordic country in Europe, like Sweden, Norway, and Germany, Switzerland. And that's something that's very, well known. There is a couple of company, and so that produce them in Germany and in German-speaking country in Europe. But I don't know much about any other region where they get it.
Yeah, because even in the U.S., we don't have access to the wood chip. Like I was looking through your pictures and I could see the exact type of wood chip that you guys are using in that. And in the U.S., we just don't have that kind of equipment yet. In Canada, they have that equipment because there's a massive greenhouse operation. I think it's 70 acres of greenhouses that we went and visited, and they run the entire thing off wood chip operation into a massive furnace, which surprisingly they're not making biochar with. They're just using the wood chips to power the furnace. And the other thing is that they use the wood chips to heat water, which then goes in I think like a 1 million gallon tank. So that basically gives them a very consistent heating. Are you using your biochar heater to heat air, or is it water that's then piped through the rails in your greenhouse?
It's water. It's we have like 2 kilometers of pipes inside the greenhouse.
Oh, wow.
And they're used for rail. The rail are pipes.
Yep.
So use them to heat and to put wagon on it. It's very, very convenient, and it's very effective.
Now, also in that greenhouse, those rails, and we'll try to include a picture in the show notes or in the Facebook post, people can see that. And we'll link obviously to the farm's Facebook page. You can research that as well. You have the carts that go down over the rails for harvesting?
Yes.
Awesome.
Cart for harvesting, and also the cart that can go up, so we can manage the plant when they grow too much.
The tomatoes and stuff.
Yes.
Very cool. Now, do you also do things like cucumbers up strings and like the peppers?
Yes.
Okay. And are you using special greenhouse varieties for those?
Yes, everything in the greenhouse, the conditions are so perfect. I mean, so good that we really need to have species, kind of vegetables that are designed, I mean, selected for them. Because we try to do very like resistant, like zucchini.
Mm-hmm.
They were so happy that they were only growing leaves,
Okay. Yes.
fruiting at all.
Gotcha. And what is the height of the greenhouse to like the gutters? Because that's a pretty tall greenhouse.
It's 4.5 meters.
4.5 meters. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the soil life because that's something you're very passionate about. How are you feeding the soil? I saw a post a couple of weeks ago where you were bringing some very specialized things out to feed the soil, and it would then help manage the organic nitrogen.
Yes. Well, about the life of the soil, we are trying to reach 8 to 10% of carbon in the soil,
Mm-hmm.
and to feed it in on the where the plant gets. R. We put haylage. I don't know if it sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Chopped grasses.
chopped grasses, but
Mm-hmm.
that has been kind of prepared like sauerkraut.
Yeah, so fermented.
Fermented, yes, because we tried many things, and that's definitely what the earthworm like best.
Mm-hmm.
And so they really develop very well when we feed them with that. And so in the greenhouse right now, we think we have about the objective at least is to get 100 grams of earthworm per square meters.
Okay. And so then are you coating the top of the soil with that haylage, or is it in the pathways?
No, in the pathways, we use the bedding from the chicken, which is
Okay.
made of wood. And so the chicken leaves their manure in it. And so it's kind of, there is a lot of nitrogen, but we put it in the pathway, and the earthworm will do the work to mix it with the rest of the earth.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that fresh right out of the chicken building, or is that composted first?
No, it's fresh.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, they would never allow that in the US because of the food safety. They would call it a food safety risk. So interesting that you can do that.
I'm not sure I can.
So the haylage, then talk to us about how you incorporate that into the soil.
We don't.
Okay.
The objective is really to have all the job in the soil should be done by earthworm. That's the objective. When the soil is not smooth enough, we use a grilly net,
Mm-hmm.
or when it's in the field outside and it's too big, we can use like kind of fork inside with three
Mm-hmm.
teeth and behind the tractor to pull it. So we don't turn the soil around, but we open it so the roots can find their way down easily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the greenhouse now, the soil is good enough, and really our main job is to feed the earthworm and the rest of the life, and they do all the job.
Mm-hmm. 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 Let's talk a little bit now about managing the operation, because you have a wide-ranging operation there, and you've developed it really quickly. As a farmer, there are always endless tasks to be done. What systems have you set up to ensure you focus on what needs to be done?
There's two main points. I mean, or three. First is delegating.
Mm-hmm.
We really have people in charge of some specific area. And for production itself, we have two people in charge, because I have visited a lot of farms, and I met a lot of guys that went through burnout
Mm-hmm.
while farming with a variety of vegetable production, because it's so much to know, so much to manage, so much pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided, well, after a couple of bad experience, to separate and to have two two person now in charge. One is more like inside with the greenhouse, and the other one take care of the outside. And that, I think that's really important to not overload one people with too much responsibility in a farm.
Gotcha. So you've just got, but basically the biggest aspect is that delegation. And you said there was a second aspect too.
It's, I would say, flawless communication. So we really need communication and information to flow between from the field to the shop or to the kitchen. And so we use Slack.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's really convenient. So we can send pictures, notes, call people. Also for the financial aspect, we have a monthly reporting. So we are making charts every month to just make sure we are on the right path and there is not, because sometimes everything seems nice, but financially there is a problem. So I think it's extremely important to make sure that we are on the right track also financially.
Absolutely.
And yeah, if I can add one more thing, that I'm not alone.
Yes.
We are doing it, I mean, the team, but also my wife. We are really a team of two for leading this project. And that's really important because, I mean, there is so many things we have to take into account, and it is best to share and to have someone to talk to.
So do you and your wife have key areas that you focus on?
Yes. So she's more taking care of everything about paperwork and finance following, and I'm more into the practical detail production, communication.
Gotcha. Now, do you have someone that manages the kitchen as well?
Yes, there's one girl is managing the kitchen.
Gotcha. What would you say the hardest thing that you've done as a farmer has been?
Recruiting and managing the people, because it's with the way we are working. I mean, we cannot find people on the employment market ready with the right skills. So we need people that are ready to work hard, but also to learn hard, or I mean, to learn a lot in a short period of time. So that's not easy to find these people, and sometimes to build a team and to make it run. It's really a challenge, and that's not specific to farming, but I think that's kind of another level in farming, because there is so much things you have to take into account.
And you're doing a very specialized form of farming too. It's not just like you're doing like the normal crop farming or animal farming. It's a very specialized farming you're doing.
Yes, it's very specialized, and the way we do it is specialized too, because at first we hired people that had training from agricultural school. They don't have the right training for all way of doing things. So we had first to remove kind of what they knew, what they had in mind, to try to retrain them. And after a while, we realized that these people, it was more easy to hire people with no background, but the people want to learn and to train them directly.
Who were your mentors over for your farming career?
Well, the first book I think was from Jean-Martin Fortier. And then I made a training online with Richard Perkins. And that was super interesting, but just I did it 2 years after starting. That was a bit late.
Gotcha.
But that's, yeah, I think. And then, yeah, no. And so I think the most important one are the movie from Ver de Terre Production. It's a French YouTube channel that is sharing a lot of experience and analysis and training online. And they are really amazing. It's like agronomy. I mean, I think they are the best around.
Very awesome. With that, I'd like to stop here and take a quick break. In a minute, we'll be back with Denis. If you've been enjoying this episode so far, you're going to want to head over to growingfarmers.com/free resources and download our free resource bundle to help you shave hours off your week and become a thriving farmer. It includes resources such as our 10 winter growing secrets we wish we knew when we started, which is a ebook which talks about the tips and techniques to get better growth in your winter production. We teach things like the simple but counterintuitive principle that trips up most beginning growers, the shape and size of tunnels that are best for winter production, how to prepare beds so they are weed-free and get beautiful, lush stands of crops, what to do about pests like aphids, voles, and slugs, how to fast-track your research to fine-tune your production for your microclimate, and how to pack in more crops for higher yields and profits. So head over to growingfarmers.com/free resources and download your free resource bundle today. So I am back with Denis from Belgium. Denis, talk to us about if you were able to go back to the beginning of your farming career and like have a magic reset button, what systems would you put in place sooner?
That's really a tricky question, because when I think about it, it's been really, really hard
Mm-hmm.
start. So I think if I knew it, I'm not sure I would have done it. I'm super happy to have done it, and because we are on the right track and we have success. But there is no real magical button. I would be more careful in hiring people at first.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely put more energy into design, because that's something I did, but I learned so much since about it that I redesign, I think, 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like every year we redesign.
So when you say design, are you saying just the layout of the farm or your cropping plan?
Well, first the design of the land.
Mm-hmm.
The cropping plant also, like everything, because it's like the design also of the structure of the role of each one in the job.
Mm-hmm.
The way people can also see if they're doing a good job or not. Yeah, we are trying right now to take out and to put all these details on paper, to use it and to be able to share it more practically.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think everything was wrong when we started, really. It was kind of amazing.
Isn't it?
Really, really crazy.
So share with us a bit about how you divide roles on the farm. I know you talked about you have different people in different positions. How do you define like exactly where their role encompasses?
Well, we have 4 people in the shop, 1 in the kitchen, and 4 in vegetable and egg production. And it's very clear what their role is. They all get a description, a post description.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really, really important. At the beginning we didn't have that, and so everybody, because I like to touch everything and to work on everything, I really enjoy that, but that's really not something you can expect from people you work with, because you need to get more organized and you need people to be very efficient at what they do. So you really need to focus people on their task and be very clear about it. And then the magic is to make them work, and that's the job of each other is kind of helping the other people.
Mm-hmm. 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 So you talked about hiring people as a challenge. After you get someone on, do you find that you try to move them around a few different places on the farm to see what they're good at, or are you always hiring for a very specific job?
when we hire, it's for a specific job. But in many situations, the people will move.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you will hire for a specific job, but then they may move to something else based on how they fit.
Yes, exactly.
So let's talk about your marketing, because that's something, as you've scaled a large business like that, you've also had to scale your marketing quite rapidly. Where do you focus on selling?
So our objective is sell everything we produce directly in our shop. So you don't resell anything to other shops. So the big challenge is to get people coming to visit us. And so that's why we choose this location when we bought the land, because it was a good commercial location. It's just outside the city, by a road where there is a lot of traffic. So it's a very good commercial location. And then we need, every week or so we are trying to produce some Facebook content. So people keep in mind we are around, and also discover how we work and what are our values. That's something very important to us to share with them. And basically that's it. It's about marketing, a good location. And I think that's something a lot of people who start farm underestimate. They just find the land and think it's good there. But to me, it's make a huge difference when you don't need to run after customer, but you are just at the right place where they can find you easily. That's a totally game changer.
So I'm sure that you took like a hit and like the type of soil you were able to get, and I'm sure the price of that property was a lot more expensive because of the location. But you're saying it's worth it because of having that steady stream of customers.
Yes, absolutely. Here, the price of land is extremely high because we are on the border of Luxembourg. And Luxembourg is a very, very rich country. So people can buy land, even agricultural land, for a very high price. But definitely it's worth it. Specifically with vegetable production, we don't need to buy 100 hectares. It's like a couple of hectares enough. So it's because we try to make some deliveries, but that's costs so much to run. Just a freeze, controlled temperature van.
Refrigerated van.
Yeah, refrigerated van, and a driver. And no, it just make more sense to buy a land with a good location so people can visit you.
Okay, so you don't do any delivery then at all. Everything is sold right through the shop, people coming to you.
Yes.
Very
interesting. We tried delivery. We tried even to develop a system like HelloFresh. But it's very, very complex from a logistic point of view. Then that's a good point, is you have a good value for each box you're selling. But that's really spending a lot of energy just to develop your logistic.
Absolutely. So you sell a wide variety of prepared foods. Talk to us about that. Is that something you had a background in? Or is that something that was new, but you just wanted to produce those final products because of the price point?
That was something we had in mind since the beginning, because we built directly the kitchen. But we only started really seriously, with one people dedicated to this task a couple of months ago. And that's something we are really happy now to do. And it helps us because it helps us. We are freezing during the high season a part of the production. Instead of selling for cheap, we are freezing it, and then we can produce soup and different stuff year round with it.
Absolutely. So one of the things I noticed is you use reusable glass jars for some of those products. How does that work?
So that's people just give a deposit when they buy the soup, and so when they come back with the jar empty, we we give them back. That's as simple as that. But there's a key to make this kind of way of selling work is that you really need to have a very, very short distance. You need a direct connection with your customer. If you resell, let's make everything terribly complicated. And here it's working fine because we are making only 3 different types of jar, 3 different size, kind of standardized, and it's not too much hassle to manage it. And because we cook, we wash, and we sell directly, and they come back directly to us. For us, it's working really well. And we are trying to expand it with other farms around for yogurts and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Interesting. So where do you spend your time and effort in promotion? What seems to work particularly well?
Facebook. Basically, that's the only answer. That's where we spend most of our energy, and I should probably go to Instagram. But giving some pictures, some nice picture, and explaining what you do, I think that's what catch the attention of people and what make it work.
Let's talk a little bit about new farmers, because you've been farming for a couple of years now, so you're kind of over that brand new farmer stage. What do you think is the biggest mistake that beginning farmers are making?
Well, here around people I meet, a lot of are discovering permaculture. So they are in a mindset that's half poetry, half farming. And I think that's if you want to do farming, that's a very demanding business, and there is not as much poetry as you could think about in it. So I would say be careful. It's that's nice. You were working with living stuff, animals and plants, but first that's work and organization, and then yes, there is a lot of poetry, but not as much as you can think.
So you're saying focus on the numbers side of things, the business side, and then you can start doing the more poetry side of the farm.
Yes, and first start by your customer, because before looking for land or anything, just look where are the customer and how can I reach them, because I see people, they are learning about production, they are good at it, and then they just settle down in the middle of nowhere, and after they struggle to sell. And that's really sad, because it's really hard to set up a place, to make everything running. And people are demanding. I mean, the customer are ready to buy local food grown in a very sustainable way, but you need to make it easy for them.
Is there anything that new farmers should avoid their first year?
Being optimistic. No, really, it's that's like in 2008 we had a terrible summer. It was so dry, and like right now it's been raining for like 4 months in a row, and there's so much water in the soil. Really, it's you must be. My wife said, you are still there doing that. It's just because you really have a vision, because you really want to make something work, like for people, because otherwise you would just quit, because there is no sense in what you're doing, putting so much effort in that. Yeah, I mean, do it for the right reason, and don't believe you get rich, don't believe you will get anything. I mean, do it because you think that's what's the best thing you can do in life.
What encouragement would you go back and give your new farmer self that first year?
I would say just do it. I believe in you, and you're gonna be fine. That's, I mean, there is so much to learn, and so much thing you cannot learn from books or anything, that you have to learn by doing. That's, yeah, just go for it and be strong.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. If you could pick one, what would be your favorite farming tool?
I would say, obviously, my favorite like toy, as I call it, is my pyrolyzing machine. It's
Okay.
definitely magical. I mean,
Yeah.
everywhere when you want to produce heat or energy on Earth, you burn carbon and you put more CO2 in the atmosphere. With biochar, you do just the opposite. The CO2 is in the atmosphere, the plants turn it into wood, and you cook it, and after you put it in the soil, and it will stay there for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
That's just magic. I just don't understand why this is not something like, I mean, everyone should use this. That's what
Mm-hmm.
we need that would definitely help to fix the climate crisis. And nobody seemed to have ever heard about it. And I mean, the machine, we receive it as a prototype, and it's also already run more 10,000 hours. So I mean, the machine is working, it's stable, it's quite
Mm-hmm.
efficient. So that's something like everybody should get.
Mm-hmm. 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 Where can people find out more about you and your work?
They can check the websites, la Micro-Ferme du Ponceret.be. But actually, we don't have, we don't share enough about what we do.
So your Facebook page is good as well. So we'll obviously in the show notes, if you go to the thrivingfarmerpodcast.com, we'll put all the information there, the links to your website and your Facebook page. And we'll put a link to that company that sells the biochar heaters so that people can find out more about them.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So Denis, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. You guys are doing fantastic work over there. I really love your business model and your passion for, trying to be a carbon neutral or even, carbon plus, I guess, aspect where you're putting more back in than you pull out. So again, thanks for coming on. And I know our audience will absolutely appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Hey, Thriving Farmers. Next week on the podcast, we have Ryan Thiessen of Thiessen Tillage Equipment in Niagara, Canada area. Ryan and I go back, gosh, it's got to be at least 5 or 6 years now, maybe longer. And he farmed back then and we were farming. So we talk about how he transitioned from the larger scale farm now to having just a smaller farm and working more on the manufacturing of tillage equipment for the small farmers. So it's kind of gutsy to kind of leave farming and do something completely different, especially what he did was make tools for small farmers. So he's a rock star in my book. He has some fabulous tools and equipment out there, which we actually use on our farm. And so we dive in to his story, as well as we talk about cultivation and what it means for your farm. So can't wait to have you join in and listen to the conversation next week. So there you have it, another episode in the books. So I'd love if you would hop on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Those mean everything to us. We love to hear what you're thinking. If you have a podcast guest that you can recommend, please pop on over to the Thriving Farmer Podcast website and leave us a review. That's thrivingfarmerpodcast.com.